Northwood Zoning Board, September 24th, 2018. Call to order. Your board this evening is represented by myself, Pam Sanderson, Vice Chairman, by Justin Miller, and by Brenda DiMatteo. There are three of us present this evening. The first thing we have to do is approval of the previous minutes. And I believe you have the previous minutes from June 26, 2018. Any errors in omission or?
June 25th.
25th.
And will we accept them?
Make them second, yeah. I don't hear a motion. I just accept it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Minutes passed. We have a letter from Northwood Mountain View Development, case number 1804. I will read the letter. It was hand-delivered September 24th, 2018, addressed to Matt Fowler, Chairman of the Zoning Board, from Northwood Mountain View Development. Dear Chair Fowler, this matter is currently scheduled to be heard this evening. Linda Smith has informed us there will only be 3 board members available for tonight's meeting. Accordingly, the applicant requests a continuance of its application to the October 22nd, 2018 meeting in order to present before at least 4 board members and possibly 5, if an additional one is appointed. I understand there will be no need for me to attend tonight's meeting. If there are any questions, do not hesitate to call me or contact me. Very truly yours, Donahue Tucker, Ciandella, PLLC, and it's signed by Sharon Cuddy Summers. I'm going to pass that down. So if we are okay, we can have a motion for continuance.
I move that we continue case 1804, Northwood Mountain View Development, to the October meeting.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I just have the official letter.
Okay. All right.
Oh, thanks
Again,
so much.
Chris Albert from Jones Beach Engineers representing the client. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next case is case number 1805, Paul and Leslie Longwell. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes. Longview.
Longview, thank you. 1 Cooper Hill Road, road map 234, lot 28. And what I need to tell you first is because you're facing 3 of us rather than 4 or 5 member board, it would have to be a unanimous decision of all 3 of us tonight. Whereas if there were 4 here, it would be 3 of 4. If there were 5, it would be 3 of 5. So you have the option to request a continuance or go forward.
You all good guys?
Oh, except for Matt. Well, Matt's not here, so yeah, we are.
And all reasonable people?
I think so. I think so. It's up to you, though. We have to inform you of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So first off, before you read questions and all, if you'd like to give us a brief summary.
Could you sit down so that you can
You have microphones right in front of you. Make yourself at home. Be comfortable.
okay. Thank you. I have this old home in Northwood, which I purchased in January of 1969 when we came to Northwood, and we lived there. And we still have the house, but I don't live there at the time. And I had a real estate office in there. And come 1983, I built the house out back. And at that time, the town of Northwood had a requirement of 80,000 square feet per lot. So I came to the planning board, and that's where you put 80,000 square foot.
See, just a little bit
I
louder.
put 80,000 square foot with the house, and we built, you know, a little house out back,
Yeah.
off the highway. And that worked good. And then I had a real estate office there. And then in 1991, I don't know if you remember, we had a big downturn in the economy. And so I wanted to make another rental unit in that house. So I hired a surveyor, Bill Warmel, and I went before the planning board. And do you have the plan in front of you?
Yeah, we do.
We can discuss that.
Sure.
You folks want to share some of these? Actually, we have
I think
enough.
we all
You
have
all have some?
We all have
Okay,
one.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, if you see there, lot 2-8-1, 1.83 acres, that's 80,000 square feet. That's what we did in, I believe it was 83, okay? And then in 1991, as I mentioned, I came back to the planning board because I wanted to make a separate rental unit. And what we did, you see the parcel B, 0.49 acres,
Yes.
and parcel A, 1.34. If you add those together, you'll see it comes out to 80,000 square feet. So back in 1991, it was still, 40,000 square feet per rental unit. So back then, my intention is to go through the town with the planning board, which I did. The town approved it, and I also had the business there. So I wanted 2 rentals and a little office there. And so they approved it and said, that's fine. But for some reason, and I outlined it in my answer to the questions, I didn't get any building permits. And I'm thinking back on this, I mean, this is 91, I said, why didn't I get building permits? But I think what happened is that somebody told me, I don't know who, I don't think it was Dave Hickey, but it must have been the building inspector before him, Don Arsenal, I don't know if you know him, but somebody told me that if you don't have any structural changes, you don't need a building permit. I think, but I'm not 100% sure. That's the only reason I can come up with why it's not on the town records as, a duplex. So I guess my point is, my intentions was to do it right, but obviously I didn't get any building permits, and those permits, there's no record of them, so I probably didn't get it. In the old house, it was just a matter of opening a door and closing a door, as far as, making another unit. There wasn't anything structural. So, that's where I am.
That's where you
so
are.
right now, I'd like a variance so I can have a legal, 2-unit house with the option of an office there.
And if I'm reading this correct, this is 2 variances. I know it says 1 bullet point, variance to Article 4, Section B, 2 lot size, A, and then it says Article 4, Section B, 3 residential density. Are those 2 separate? Those are 2 separate?
They're 2 separate sections, but basically he's trying to achieve the same thing. He's trying to change the residential density from 1 to 2 units, but he doesn't have the lot size.
Okay.
So he's noted both areas in
Okay.
the zoning ordinance.
So they're not like separate?
No.
Okay,
No.
they're joined together and that's...
They're separate as far as article numbers, but it's basically trying to achieve the same thing.
Yeah, I've not seen one that was joined before. We could start with some preliminary questions, but let me ask first, are there any abutters present? No. So the board, general questions, would you like to begin?
Just where it says, according to our agenda, when it reads, seeks relief to convert the existing single-family residence to a 2-unit residence. And then on the application, it says an existing 3-unit residence to become a legal 2-unit residence. Is that the two different structures? Is that
It's the same building. There's 3 units there right now.
there are 3 units?
Yes.
So, and it's the same structure as referred to existing single-family residence to a 2-unit? Or is there an
Yes,
error?
it's on the books as a single family and a business.
A single-family and a business?
Yeah, that's what's on the town tax cards.
May I clarify the position of the town on this so you understand it from
Yes,
that
please.
perspective? I sat down with the Longales. We did go through the property records. He did give me a history of the changes to the property. And basically, and also we looked at some of the different plans that had occurred over time with the lot line. And it does appear that in 1991, there was an intent to increase to what was then 80,000 square feet per residential unit. You needed 80,000, you would have needed 160,000 square feet for 2 and 300 feet of road frontage. However, in the town records, the assessing card, which is for tax purposes, only shows the original single-family residence and the business, which has been abandoned for quite a few years now. Apparently, and as the Longales have stated, over time they added 2 more additional units, rental units, which have been there along with the original residential unit. What they're looking to do is have you look at the facts of the lot and the frontage, and they're seeking a variance to bring it to 2 residential units. There is no evidence in the property files of any plumbing permits, electrical permits. Even though structurally it's the same building, the town would have required, even in 91, to have had permits pulled for those units, and there was no evidence of that. So they've chosen to come to you tonight seeking the variance for the second. So they're actually looking to move it back to 2 based on the facts of the case. There is no business in there, even though the tax card shows that, only because no one from the assessing department actually went inside. But that has been abandoned in those 3 residential units.
So what does, legally, how does...
Legally, it
the
stands as
town
a single-family residence because there's no other permits and no other validation of anything else. Even though, you know, they do intend to, as they have stated, to express their intent that they did this lot line adjustment with that understanding, that they could have the second unit.
See, my intent back then was to properly go through the town, and I thought I had. You know, I just, or else I wouldn't have gone through all this
So we're trying
expense
to
and
rectify the
planning board.
situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions right now.
Come back through.
So currently, it's a 3 apartment multifamily. Are there people living in all 3 units?
Yeah, when it ceased to be a business, Sue Ellen Drake was there for a while, Debbie Dahl had a real estate office there, and when they left, I just rented out the space as a residence. So
And then-
right now, there's 3 rental units in the building.
I'm trying to just condense down to 2.
I'd like to bring it down to 2, which
Yep.
back in 91, I met all the requirements. But now here we are, 27 years later, they require more land, which I'm not able to do. So,
Is any of the parking area going to be getting changed, or is everything pretty much staying the same on the outside? You're just condensing from a 3 to a 2?
staying the same, Justin, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't have any more questions.
I had a question to see a current tax map, as your 1991 is showing existing property line to be eliminated. So this map was prior to the decision to join the property together. So I just wanted to see the existing as it stands right now after this proposal. Unclear on, so there's 3 units there. One is a studio apartment, the
Yes.
office. Will that continue to be a studio, or is it, how are you going to do this?
That's a good question. I guess if I get the variance, I will have to eliminate one of those rentals. I understand that, and I'm willing to do it. Whether
And to eliminate a rental would mean, once again, a building inspector, because you would be doing some changes inside the building, I assume, if you're, because
it's just a matter of opening one door and closing another.
opening one door and closing.
Yeah, that's really all it amounts to.
Is the thing that determines a few things for the building department would be whether there is, in other words, closets would indicate bedrooms, and the building inspector would be looking at the septic based on the number of bedrooms.
Yeah.
I think that's why these folks are looking for an answer is, will you end up with 2 3-bedroom units, or
Oh, I see.
1 2-bedroom, 1 3-bedroom, that
Yeah.
type of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
so that information can be provided to the building inspector.
Okay, yeah,
So he knows what to look for as far as septic.
yeah. Okay.
And as it was a business, I do remember when it was a real estate office, it has ceased to be a business location.
Well, I don't know. I guess, Pam, what I want to do is to sell it. I'm getting tired of dealing with tenants and maintenance,
done that.
So, I guess that whoever bought it, if they wanted, to continue to have the 2 apartments there and have a business, they would have to come before the planning board. I guess that would be up to them.
Right, because the business,
So-
not being in business, it would no longer,
Yeah, right, it's considered abandoned at this
it's
point.
considered abandoned, so they couldn't
With the
just start a
2-unit
business.
approval, there would not be a need for additional frontage or square footage
Right.
if the planning board approved a business. That would be up to them as a separate
It's a separate thing.
thing. But he can't have the 2 units without zoning board approval.
Right, because then because it goes with the land, so if it was to have a future purchaser, they would run into not being able to do anything structurally because it doesn't have this history. So I kind of see where you're at, that you're trying to clear this up.
Right.
Okay, here is our map geo, which shows it as 1 lot. Here's just something off of Google Maps, so that helps. It shows a little of the parking lot. And just so you're aware, when something like this is recorded, this would be the final plan.
That would be the
as far- Right, once it's recorded, it becomes what it's presented as. And it shows that those are all being added, but they show it like that, so you know where it came from to
Okay.
become one.
All right. Let me see, do we have the minutes of 1991?
Oh, I did not look for those. For this?
Yeah.
This is a recorded plan.
It's the recorded plan, but
That's what
they came
stands.
before the zoning board, Am I correct?
No.
Planning board?
Planning
No.
Planning board in 1991
Right.
to request to join the lots and to go to 3 units.
No.
No.
To go to 2 units.
2 units.
No, that would not have been, the planning board does not hear residential unless it's multifamily, or, that would not have been part of this.
Okay. So the
That would have been in the building department.
building department.
And that's where we have no evidence that there was a conversion
Okay.
to the additional residential units.
All right. So, boy, there's a conundrum there. So let's start. Are we considering this as?
So officially, is it a residence with an office, with a business?
No,
Is that-
because the business has been abandoned for over
Okay.
2 years. So
All
under
right.
our zoning ordinance, it's not there anymore. It converts back to the single-family residence.
Single-family residence.
Right.
Got blue. Okay. Any more questions, Brenda? At the moment?
Not at the moment.
Justin? No. I'm a little like confused as to, where do we go from here? So if we're considering this as, it's there, it exists, it has 2 units in it, 3, it has 3 units. You want to go to 2 units, but we're essentially looking at it as 1 unit going to 2.
Right.
Okay, so it's going to have to, again, there would have to be building inspector and all involved in that. So let's, would you like to say anything before we start the questions and all? Would you like to add?
No, I guess to make it just simply easy to understood, if I had gotten building permits at the time, we probably wouldn't even be here. So initially, my intent was to have town approval totally, but for some reason, I didn't get the permits, I don't know why. So it was just an error, an oversight.
Well, you're trying to correct it.
Yeah, and I'd like to correct it now. Yeah.
I think it would be the awareness that, going forward to go to 2 units, whether you're going down or whether you're going up, you still have to get building permits. So if you're going to, I would say there has to be, because if you're going to be 2 and you're going to, if it's as simple as opening a door, whatever, there still has to be building codes that are observed for the town, and this is a change.
Yeah, right.
Albeit it's already occurred in the past, it is a change, and because it's a new change, I would say you'd just be aware that you would probably, I'm going to say, you'd have to get building permits.
Well, I'm guessing that there may be a kitchen in each one. I don't know what the studio is. So the kitchen would have to be removed.
Or
from
building
one of them.
inspection.
Okay.
You did separate the wiring.
Yeah,
when
there's
you were doing
three
this.
separate panels.
And the
Yeah.
water heaters and all
Yeah,
that, so.
yeah, each have a water heater.
Well, I don't think the town is so concerned about that as they would that it did not appear to, when you go in. In other words, if there's 3 entrances or 3 panels, it's whether or not there's 3 kitchens, that it appears that it's a separate residential unit. That it would have to be converted back so it was 2 units if they grant the variance. And that the building inspector would work with you on that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they're gonna make it take out a electrical panel, but, and it may be helpful if you, just for the record, introduce Mrs. Longuille and Mr. Kurt, who some of us know.
Some of us know. And person of interest, and you are interested in this? If you want to.
This is my in-laws.
I
and
see.
We're trying to clean up potential issues as they think about selling property.
doing it
What
right.
they're asking for is a 2-unit with a potential business unit. So that would still be a 3-unit? Is that?
They have to, no, they can't. They
That would
can't because the
change.
business has been abandoned. They can't ask these folks for it. if they're challenging the fact that the town believes it's abandoned, then they would have to file a
So if
appeal from an administrative decision.
Their intent is to put it on the market and
Right,
sell it. So if someone bought it and lived in it, they could rent out the upstairs. In that studio, they could leave as is and come to the planning board to operate as a
Correct.
business. And
Yes.
then no building permits would be required to take out a kitchen or take out a bathroom,
if it was
because
part
that's-
of a business, it would.
because that would be a business unit.
Right, I would agree with that.
So there's a few different scenarios that wouldn't necessarily require a building permit and construction removing, with the intent being to clean this up and potentially put it on the market and sell it. Or is the town's position that a kitchen and closet would be taken out immediately before
That
putting
would
it
be
on the
up to
market?
the building inspector. I
Okay.
think that, that's what I said to the Longuils, was that I think a couple of things. If they were to approve this, the town is not gonna go in and say, you know, they would give a reasonable amount of time for them to, give consideration to the tenant to be able to move out that's there now, the extra tenant. But also, they could market it with the idea of business potential.
Yeah. And
2
and
units.
whoever's gonna do that has to go through the planning
They would
board
have to go to the
to
planning
get that
board.
finalized. But the
Correct.
structure is set up right now with the kitchenette in each unit, that you could have 2 residences and a business with its own kitchenette and bathroom.
Right, right.
Okay.
The concern is, and we spoke about this as well, is that if somebody comes in, I mean, if they were to want to market it as, which they could do, if they wanted to come to the planning board and get permission for, say, an office or a retail or whatever, they could do that now and market it as such. But it's sometimes easier to say business potential because you don't know who's going to buy it and what they're going to want.
Right.
So I think that's certainly a reasonable approach to go with the idea that they could come back at a later date and apply to the planning board for whatever business they want. And even the potential that there could be a business on this rest of the lot back there. If that's what somebody who looked at it saw it and said, oh, yeah, I like this, but I'm gonna put a road in and put a shop out back, or whatever they might want. So that would be a separate matter with the planning board as far as whatever business goes in there.
Just to simplify it too, if the ZBA would grant this, we would just have 2 residences, period. That's the end of it. And if somebody wanted to come to the planning board later on, then that would be discussed as far as having an office or business. Right? So-
And where it was, whether it was in the house, and if they didn't want it in the house, I think at that point, when the planning board approved it, there may be the need to have to remove that other kitchenette. But depending on how it all, you know, whatever was approved.
I think a side concern would be, if it is marketed, it would have to be marketed as a 2-unit if this
Right.
approval goes
Yeah,
through.
I understand.
And whoever buys it would have to
I think that's
understand it
what
is
drove
2-unit.
them to come in.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so if you are a potential buyer and you have buying a 2-unit and you notice there is the potential for a studio, just as long as they understand that you just can't move somebody in and start renting it. That's a whole new ball game again. If it's 2-unit and, be upfront and explain all that. And,
That's right.
and
Just
then
to
I like the
ensure
idea of
that-
potential for business. So that could be added in, it could be a condition upon granting a variance that it be clearly stated that it is 2-unit and marketed as 2-unit.
Well, we can't control how they market.
But,
However, our notice of decisions are recorded at the registry of deeds. So
Okay.
anyone looking, the minute they go to convey a deed, the title person or anyone doing any research is going to see that connected to this property.
All right, so it needs
So-
to say
That would,
2-unit only.
that would be the town's position. The notice of decision is there. If somebody came in, bought it, and tried to use the 3 units, then obviously, you know,
Right.
the
And then
town
if-
would have recourse against that.
And if they a potential person could look at that and say, well, potentially I could make this a business, but I gotta go to the town. Potentially I could use this as an apartment, but I gotta go to the town.
We actually had a very similar scenario, but different, where there was an illegal apartment put in. There was one apartment and a business, and the town went and enforced several times, tried to enforce the second apartment to be removed. And then people sold it, and then they moved somebody back in to the second illegal apartment. Ultimately, what happened was the town went to court, and the town prevailed, and the apartment had to come out. And that even, you know, it was listed on the tax card, because assessors can pick up, for tax purposes, things that are not even legally permitted. So that's why we don't go by the tax cards. We go by the property file and permits.
All right, so further questions?
So I just keep going back and forth about this 3 and 2. Now, how can we make sure if this were to get approved,
It goes to a 2-bedroom. Does the building inspector go in and, like you said, gives them time and everything to do what they have to do? How do we know for sure it's gonna go back to a 2-bedroom?
Or two?
Or two unit,
unit.
2 units, sorry. Is there, I mean, it's gonna get, like you said-
I'm not the code enforcement officer.
Right.
I don't know that he could not say that that kitchenette and that extra constitutes a third residential unit. You're gonna have to take it out, and if you get permission later, you can put it back in. I don't know. That's a real potential. That's up to the building inspector and code enforcement.
Okay.
Once he sees a decision of this board, then, and again, the notice of decision that you have will enforce it for the future, the town's position, but it may be that would have to come out. I can't answer that.
But it could not be represented as a 3-unit.
Right.
If somebody did, it'd be in violation.
Right, and
Yeah.
one more time, can you go over what your plan is for that property? I know you're going from the 3 to a 2.
Yeah.
Now, are you removing one of the studios? Do you have any plan of what you're gonna do to the house? That's why I'm getting
Yeah,
tied
yeah.
up right now.
Well, if I get the variance, I'll be obligated to remove one of those units. And I did talk to Linda about this, and she said the town would be reasonable
Right.
in working with the leases I have now. So if I still own it at that point, yeah, I would eliminate one of those units. I haven't thought that far in advance. I just like get the variance, and then I know legally what I'm required to do, and then the town also knows the legal position that they're in. They could enforce it. Now, I have no intent, if I get the 2-unit, if I get the variance, I have no intent of leaving 3 units there. What I would probably do, if I still own it at that point, I would eliminate one of those units when the lease expires. And I think Linda said the town would work with me on that, so.
Can I describe the studio? Is it that see, the studio was part of the original kitchen. You know, we lived there for many years. And there's a door to the dining room, which may have been covered over. I don't know if it would be easy.
The door is still there. There's
All
a
right,
piece of
so-
sheetrock over it.
Okay, so to eliminate the studio, what we do is we open the door. That's a kitchen. It's a bigger kitchen than what the downstairs unit has right now. So it's not a big deal. The guy's living in the kitchen, but he's got a little bathroom. It's a nice studio. It's probably one of the best units because it was worked on.
One thing I would want to make clear is that this board does have the right to ask for very specific information as to how many units and how many bedrooms you're going to end up with. In which unit, if it's going to be the studio, because that can enter into your decision on the variance. So you certainly have the right to request that and expect that as part of your variance decision. Whether they're eliminating the studio, the more specific you are, that way their variance then goes to the building inspector, and he can look at it and know exactly what is allowed.
So you have a studio of 1 room
Yes.
and you have 2 apartments, and they are how many bedrooms in each one?
Upstairs, there's a total of, the kitchen, it's kind of a kitchen combination, laundry room. And then there's 3 other rooms, 3 large rooms. So there's 4 rooms, or 4.5 rooms upstairs. There's a little kitchen, and then there's a little area off the kitchen that has some of the laundry in it.
Is there a,
So-
in order to constitute a bedroom, I believe it has to have a door?
Has to have a closet.
Closet. So how many
there 2
rooms have a
Being
closet?
used as 2-bedroom,
Yeah.
right?
To use
It's being used as
2 bedrooms, yeah.
2-bedroom, which
Yes.
is what it would, you know,
Yeah.
if we were to do this, we would say 1 apartment of 2 bedrooms.
And then you get the studio, and downstairs, you know, the studio, of course, is downstairs, and then you've got 3 rooms downstairs. And the entranceway, I don't think you could consider that a
That doesn't
bedroom.
count as a room, really.
It's-
I don't think they're looking at rooms so much as how many bedrooms.
Oh, well, the downstairs.
Because that's
you
what the
know,
building
that depends
inspector
what you
would
want.
go
You can
by.
have a 1 or 2 bedrooms. There's 3 large rooms there.
Well, if you think you
So-
want 2, you better ask for the 2.
If you eliminated the studio, you'd have 2 bedrooms downstairs and 2 bedrooms upstairs, is what you'd end up with.
So right now, the downstairs bedroom, not the studio, has 3 rooms. Kitchen.
Oh, well, no, I guess that would be.
It's like a galley kitchen.
You know, it's a galley.
Galley
it's-
kitchen.
It's a little kitchen in the,
How many closets? How many closets in the first floor apartment? Because we need, like, for bedrooms.
one,
1 in each one. 1 in
how
each
about the
bedroom.
back room? Is there one on the back bedroom downstairs? I don't think so.
No.
No. You know, the old houses, they didn't have much closet.
Right.
So I'd say there's 2 bedrooms, 2 closets downstairs.
So,
Yeah. So you'd be 2 bedrooms downstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs.
So you're looking for 2 2-bedroom units.
2 2-bedroom units. I'm assuming you would elect to eliminate the studio, because a 2-bedroom, a little
Yeah, right,
more.
Right.
You said leases, and you intimated that the town was willing to work, because leases, obviously you have signed contracts. Any potential for when you could accomplish from 3 to 2?
I have 2 leases up at the end of April and 1 July 15th. So,
And then July.
When does the studio lease come up?
April 30th.
So April and the studio's in April. Okay. Which is good.
I don't know, again, I'm not the building inspector, and I cannot speak for the Board of Selectmen, but I think that they would be willing to work with them for a reasonable time to accommodate the change.
Sure. All right. So as we sit here, I think I would see, like, as we go through the points, that potentially we would be heading towards a specific of a variance granting 2 2-bedroom apartments.
Yeah.
Because we have to kind of
Yeah,
be specific on this,
Okay.
which would allow for configuration and would, yes.
did we answer Justin's question?
Yes, you did.
It's clear now. I mean, we
Absolutely.
could draw it out.
Yeah, no, that, everything all combined just answered it. You know, I was just more concerned of, leaving that 3rd studio there,
Yeah.
sort of say.
Yeah.
And I understand if you sell it as a 2-bedroom, but then, obviously you guys had nothing to do with it, but, it being a 3-unit home. But, no, we answered it, yep, thank you.
Any more questions? Any more input? And I'm looking to go to the 4 questions. And it's either all retyped here. And I'm looking for my chairman copy of the 4 questions.
Would you like this?
I have that,
Okay. Oh,
but the,
I bet I got it right here.
you know what I mean? The 4 questions, I probably have it too. Give me a page number. Oh, actually, quicker. You probably have memorized these by heart,
Well,
Curtis.
some I have, but not all of them.
These are my answers here.
5
Amazing,
points.
it's amazing how quick you forget.
Yeah, because I think our blank templates do not have that. So this is me, this is me, this is me. Oops, I'm sorry. Plunk. And that's the back of my book. It keeps falling off. This is fine, this is fine.
67433.
Yeah, 674.33, and the old book is page 405. And I believe it's consistent with the application that was formed separate. So, if we
You
move
have
to...
that, Pam, or? I got it
I
here.
do, I have it, I got it
Oh,
right
okay.
here, and then like this, I'm looking at is all
Oh,
blank.
okay.
So I'll be trying to,
Alright.
I would be trying to match up their granting
Mm-hmm.
their answer with no question. So this is kind of the way it goes at this point is the applicant testimony on all criteria. So I will be asking you 5 questions. And the first question, and typically you can read what you've written, but you do not have to stick to every word. If you feel that you want to add something for clarity, that is allowed. You're not held to this in writing, okay?
I understand.
So question number 1. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest.
And I feel that would be the case because it would not affect the surrounding properties in any way that was detrimental to their visual appearance or their values. It would not change traffic flow or cause any safety issues. There'd be no changes to the existing house with the variance, on the outside I'm talking about. And granting of the variance would diminish burden on town police, fire department, and schools because potentially there'd be less people living there.
Thank you for clarity on that point. Question number 2. The spirit of the ordinance is observed.
Granting this variance would not be contradictory to the existing ordinance because it would put my property in compliance with town guidelines. It would also mitigate the existing situation of 3 units. Granting this variance would also be consistent with the town's granting such variances in the past. So what I did, I took a little time and went over the tax records, identifying multiple homes on Route 4 that had, and you'll see there's an addendum there, that had, several rental units that were not in compliance. And I listed them on the addendum. So that's what that's all about. I don't know if that has any effect on what I'm doing, but it just shows that in the town of Northwood, there are many buildings, and this was just on Route 4, and I didn't go all the way to the town line. There are many, older homes particularly that have multiple units, all right? This is in comparing my house to the properties listed on the addendum. My house has more land and open space. Granting this variance would reduce my home from 3 units to 2 units and will substantially put it more in compliance than those on the addendum. So I'm saying I have a better situation than what they do. All right?
Question number 3. Substantial justice is done.
Number 3, it would make my house a legal unit in compliance with the town's guidelines inasmuch as it has seemingly been out of compliance for many years. I didn't realize that. I thought by going through the planning board that I was okay, as far as having 2 units. It said it would also be a measure of justice in that it would make things easier for my children upon my demise. I hope I'm around for a while, but you never know. My survey shows 3 parcels, and this is something we already discussed. The parcel showing 1.83 acres was approved in '83. At that time, 80,000 square feet was the lot size in Northwood. And then we added parcels A and B were added in '91, which exactly doubled the 80,000 square feet to 160,000 square feet, or 3.66 acres, which is shown on the plan. So I'm 0.34 short of total compliance. If I had a little bit more land to put with it, I would do it, but I don't. Right? It is my recollection, and that of the surveyor, William Warmel, and you could always talk to him if you like, that those precise amounts of acreage were intentionally done to meet the town's acreage requirements at that time for a second residential unit. For some unknown reason, after granting the town's approval on the acreage, a building permit was not taken out. And we talked about that. So this shows that at the time of the town's approval of said survey, my house was in compliance with town requirements. It would do substantial justice for the town to allow this variance because when this survey was approved, my property was in compliance except for obtaining a building permit.
Hold on. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished, and we would go into special conditions after that. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship, and then you'll have your choices beneath. So number 4, the values of the surrounding properties are not diminished.
So granting this variance would not in any way diminish surrounding property values, as I would not be doing additions or altering the outside structure in any way. This house is substantially the same as it was many years ago when I came to Northwood in January of 1969.
All right. And you are going with, let me see, special conditions 5.2. Go ahead on the 5. No, 5.2. You going B2 or A2? I think.
Those uses reasonable?
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, it's under section A. So 5A2. The proposed use is a reasonable one. So literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. For the purpose of this subparagraph, unnecessary hardship means owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. The proposed use is a reasonable one. So you're reading number 5 and then down into 5.
Okay. So special conditions of this property would be that it has long road frontage. I think it's like 527 foot of frontage. It goes up Route 4 and also down Cooper Hill Road. And it is a large colonial home built in 1781 with many old features. It is not unlike other homes of similar style and age in Northwood. And 5II, it says the proposed use is a reasonable request because its issuance would not affect the surrounding properties in any way. It would not impact the flow of traffic or cause any safety issues. Property has been in use in its current situation for many years, and the issuance of the variance would not change the area visibly or materially. It is also a reasonable request because property is short only 0.34 of an acre to have full compliance. There is now 3.66 acres with this home, good frontage, good visibility, and has not changed materially since built in 1781. Additionally, this house, I thought, was in compliance in 1991 when the land adjustment was done.
Thank you. All right. And let me see, I've got additional abutter comments or people of interest. Anything over here to add? Any board questions of the applicants based upon the questions?
No.
Okay, nothing, 527.34. Okay, so at this point, unless there is any further input, I will close the hearing. And we will be talking amongst ourselves here. You're right here, you're fine. Okay, so going to the actual variance. And I've got
Page 18, yeah.
Yeah, I've got page 18, 4B2 lot size, and I've got 4B3 residential density. I understand we are considering these in unison.
So do you need one motion or two?
As they're being considered together,
Right, basically.
I think we should do two just for...
Well, it is about residential density, but it's
Right.
really the lot size for the residential density. It's
Right.
a lot size variance.
So again, the lot size should be 4 acres for a 2 residential property. And in this case, so this is, they're conjoined, so either one would negate the other. Right? So you almost have to consider them together. So 4 acres for 2 apartments. And they are short on the 4 acres by 0.34 acres. Again, excellent large frontage, although it's on Route 4. It is not adding an additional driveway because that would put us into a whole new thing.
I mean, they're short a little bit, but like in the purpose of the lot size, they're lessening vehicle congestion in the street and really enhancing the travel. You know, right now they got 3 units. There's probably a minimum 3 cars coming and going through there. Not saying there's not going to be that many cars.
Possibly 5 or
You know,
6.
I mean, you know, 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2 units. If we approve this, probably going to be maybe a few more cars, and then with they got plenty of street frontage. I don't know. I think they have. Do they have access on Cooper Hill Road for
Can
that
you see
parking?
the picture ones
There
that were
is
sent
access from
down?
Cooper Hill Road.
You got pictures? Yeah, over here is access
Okay.
on Cooper. This used to be like a parking lot for the real estate agency,
Okay.
because I actually remember parking there.
And there are school buses turn around.
And we've got a paved driveway here.
Yeah.
I wondered on the question of impermeable soil, but I think with the back lot and it being a requirement of 4 acres, they're not gonna,
Oh, I think they're a long way from that,
yeah, they're not gonna run into that. I did question frontage on a 2-unit, trying to figure out if, the frontage was doubled to what, 50 feet.
No, I think
but
it's
the home is
200, so they're way beyond.
Yeah, and the home is 1781, which would preclude most, it's not the home or land's fault that Route 4 has expanded in width. So you can't really, you know, hold them accountable for that. Right, so residential, required to meet lot size, minimum lot size is by the table, so it is 4 acres. Residential density, and I had highlighted, no, it's not in the conservation. And it's the number of residential units per acre. So the question is, can it be 2 on acreage that is 0.34 acres short?
I mean, I'm all for it. I'm for it going from 3 to 2, with those stipulations that we do 2 bedrooms per unit. I'd like to add that, make sure if they do sell and when they do sell, if anybody else wants to go forward and add another unit, they do have to come back to the town to try and get some type of other approval.
Closed. Oh,
But-
unless,
But in regards to what they're here for right now, 0.34 acres that's not much. And I like everything else about the property, and I have nothing more to say.
I agree with everything Justin says, has the potential of taking at least one car out of entering and exiting Route 4. The building essentially already exists. I think
And
we're just doing the paperwork.
I think if, stipulating two-bedroom apartments
Yes.
might be too much of a restriction. If we were to say, two-bedroom apartments with the potential for a third bed, because if they decide to take that studio as a bedroom, open the door and make that part of the living unit, we would be wrong to restrict them to
Right.
two
Yeah.
with the potential for three. I don't know if that's the direction you were leaning in, but.
I'm
Are you
not-
going to have to deal with the bedrooms?
I'm not clear on
We
what you
have-
just
Would you
said.
say 2 units?
Well, if we were to stipulate,
Well, you would have to
two
tie it to
bedrooms.
something.
yeah, if we were to stipulate two-bedroom units, then if they wanted to make a change to a 3-bedroom unit, they would have to obtain a permit.
So,
A permit?
Building permit, because you're,
If this variance was passed with us saying it's okay for this variance, but it can only be two-bedroom units.
You could put that condition on it, and then if they want a third bedroom, they would have to come back and ask for that and go through this again. But it may be difficult because they're already asking for an expansion on, for this. They couldn't come back for the same variance again.
right.
Well, they could ask, but then you could deny it. Because they're asking for the same relief from lot size and residential density on that same lot. I think it would be clearer if you either made a condition of two-bedroom units or 1 2-bedroom unit with one up to 3 bedrooms, provided that there is a approved state septic design provided to the town for that additional bedroom. There was probably 4 bedrooms in that home when it was a single-family residence years ago when people had big families. I don't know what there is for a septic there now. That's up to the building inspector. But I think if he's going to require them to have a plan for whatever that number of bedrooms is.
Okay.
So again, I think it's up to this board to decide if you want to approve two bedrooms based on the fact that there's 3.66 acres, or if you feel comfortable saying 1 3-bedroom unit, 1 2-bedroom unit with the condition that a septic plan has got to match the number of bedrooms anyway. But
could I
again, you
comment?
have to go, you know, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. They have a single-family residence. They have 2 illegal apartments coming from the other side of it. They're asking to go from 1 to 2. So even though it has been successfully, we'll say successfully used as a 3-unit, it's up to this board to set the parameters on what should be part of that variance.
Okay. All right, with this up. Now, we have requested input. Would you be okay coming out of the closed session to reopen for a minute for additional input?
Sure, I make a motion that we come out of closed session.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Go ahead.
Okay. So I would propose that it's a 2-unit building with 4 bedrooms combined in any manner in those 2 units. So it could be a studio and a 3-bedroom.
Yeah,
It could be 2 bedrooms.
no, good, okay, so long as there's no more than 4 bedrooms, okay. So what Kurt is saying, if I understood right, is that we'd like the option to have a 1-bedroom unit, or a 3-bedroom, or a studio, and a 4-bedroom, that we have some. Is that what you're saying?
So
As long as
as you
there's only
wrote
2
that, it's a 2-unit building with 4 bedrooms, any combination there within.
That's
So it
the
could
way
be
to
a
do
studio
it.
with 3, it could be a 2 and 2, it could be back to a 4-bedroom house, single family.
Right, and that would preclude the stipulation that approved septic design to go to 5, or just should there be a
No.
mention?
No, they're saying 4 bedrooms
Right.
maximum.
Yeah.
There's probably, there could be a 4, you know, whatever,
Right.
4 bedrooms
Which is probably what
within
it
that
was.
building,
Yeah.
up to 2 units,
Okay.
or any
That's some good
combination of that. That's a reasonable, and a very, it's a very sensible way to approach it, because that gives them the, without a whole bunch of, could be this, could be
Yeah,
that.
gives them,
And the building inspector has to look at those 2 issues and go.
and the potential future would be, it could be this as long as it is 4
Right.
bedrooms. Okay. Do you have any other input while we're open?
No, I want to thank you all.
All right, I will reclose.
Yeah.
So that is a better scenario, it's a comfortable scenario. How are we feeling on the .34? Is, roughly speaking, that really is in the ballpark of the 4 acres?
That's like we spoke about, that's what we are here for, is for that little bit people are missing.
Sure.
And like some of the other cases where they're miles away from what's required. This, to me, they're in the ballpark, they're close to it. If they were coming to us with 1 acre, it'd be a different story. Or a couple acres short. But this, they're not even a half acre short. I'm all, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not crowding what acreage there is anymore, so.
I would say it's reasonable use, and also, the point when I first read through about diminishing the burden of police, fire in town, not fully understanding all the particulars and would not impact the flow of traffic or cause safety issues, that's a rough stretch of road there, and my initial concern was adding people to it would be dangerous, highly dangerous. But now that it's clear that there have been people there since 1991 at least, plus the business traffic before then, I'm a little more comfortable with saying yes, that going to 2 units diminishes the traffic flow and burden on police in town. I can agree with that there, because safety would be the primary issue here. Well, for me.
It's always, yeah.
Okay, so anybody feel like moving forward on any other input?
No, but I hate this
Yep, that's why I looked at you.
so much. Okay.
You've got the 2 numbers, which I've got written over here, so let me go back to page 18. So you're on 4B2A.
2, yeah.
So 4B2A, and you're on 4B3.
Got it. You ready for a motion?
3A, 4B3, just 3 residential. Go ahead.
Okay, case number 1805. Paul and Leslie Longwheel. I make a motion regarding Article 4B2 in favor of the variance
Lot size.
regarding new lots required to meet lot size requirements. They have 3.66 acres where 4 acres are required. The .34 that they're short, I think, is a minimal amount. And anything else?
Yeah, 4B3 residential density.
Oh, okay, so I thought we were gonna vote on them one at a time. No, okay.
They're
You don't need to.
They're conjoined.
Okay, and regarding 4B3 residential density should not exceed the requirements of the section. What did we say? We decided,
You just said it with the first part, with
Okay.
0.34.
yep, 0.34 acres, no, 3.664 acres are required. Is this where we mention the requirements of maximum? With the stipulation that the structure contain no more than 2 units with a maximum of 4 bedrooms. And did I leave anything out?
Would it be allowable to stipulate that future permits need to be obtained as needed? Just
I
to
think
have that
that's-
in there?
That's actually on the notice of decision.
It's actually on the notice of decision. Thank
Yeah.
you. So,
Redundant. I think that's it.
Says all other necessary permits would be required.
so do you have that long motion?
Well, I have the conditions all, I really want to make sure I
It's
got right.
superfluous.
But I know what the,
All right. Okay.
okay,
So we have a motion on the floor.
I second that.
Second by Matt. Any discussion?
Second by Justin.
Justin. Justin. Make sure that corrected in the minutes. It was Justin. Any discussion? Additional discussion?
No, I'm all set.
All right. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
We have to, and we have to vote unanimous. There's only 3 of us. So, how do you vote?
Aye, in favor.
In favor? I too vote in favor. So the motion carries.
Thank you.
It's our first applause. So Curtis, how are we doing?
You've got a very good system in place. Very good.
Yeah,
You're
I
doing a
wonder
good
who
job.
started that.
Completely winging it. We still refer to
Good
move the
system,
shed. We still love that line, move the shed. I mean, that's like our line.
Well,
So we still remember you. And
Very good.
if you'd ever like to take an alternate seat, you're more than welcome back.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Better hurry up and get out now.
You're more than welcome to come back.
The format has carried forward, Kurt. It's very helpful.
On a good track.
Yeah, don't be running out the door too fast.
You're all volunteers, right?
Yeah.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Really.
It's our first Bravo, too. Golly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
You
welcome.
get a letter in the mail
Okay.
with the decision.
We have
no sooner than
budget.
7 days.
We have
Right,
budget
no
to
sooner than 7
discuss.
days.
Thank you.
Building inspector.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah,
I forgot Dale's,
that was the Dale thing. No,
all right.
I could hear him in my head.
I think,
all the way from Nottingham.
yeah, no, I think that was.
When we go to conferences.
All right, so
I got a couple other,
we are moving on to any new business.
Just to help with planning for next month, I know that, well, it's always subject to change, but right now, I'm not available to be here for the next meeting.
Which is tough because that, if it was to be Mountain View, October, puts us at 3 again.
Yeah.
So any chance on volunteers?
was
If
there,
something changes, I'll let you know.
Now, Beth
She's
is
scheduled
gone.
for surgery, but
But Beth is gone, so it's just Matt.
That's right.
now did you continue that to a day and time certain of October 22nd?
Yeah.
I know the motion was the
Yes.
October
The
meeting.
October meeting.
aha.
Was there anybody from that case that was
You had
here
one.
at the time?
You said,
Yes.
It
you,
was that
you
engineer.
said,
Oh, but that's
you
it?
I read the letter. I read the
That
letter
said
and that said the
10/22, yeah.
10/22.
So I don't know if
So
that
that was what was
matters.
entered in. And you said October meeting. And the letter said to the 10/22.
My only
Monday, that
concern,
Monday that we typically have the meeting right
It wasn't in the
now.
motion, but it was in the,
It wasn't the letter that was
discussion.
ready.
Now, the only, right, they checked on that. There was a problem with the 29th, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, Halloween week, I mean, we don't want to interrupt that.
candy and costume. I
All right.
I'm just trying to be helpful, giving a heads up, it could change.
Well,
She
that's
has a rest of
appreciated,
surgery
but
scheduled, but
the
I,
problem is that we don't have anybody, and they did not come tonight because there was only 3.
Right,
No,
right.
there's another meeting.
But that is not, that's the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. Lucy, stir somebody up to come in and sign up for zoning board. You know of anybody? I was gonna ask Rich Boyko, he was out in the audience. Rich, are you watching this? He may be willing to be an alternate. Let's give him a call. Bless you.
I got it.
Bless you. That was
I got
fast
it.
moving.
It's like, oh, God. It's my Kleenex.
Finish that way.
Yeah. I have my Kleenex and I was like,
You gotta be fast these days.
All right, so that and that and that are going in there.
Thank you very much for coming tonight, Pam, when you weren't feeling so hot.
I am not feeling so
budget,
hot,
we're
but
getting raises.
it's all my sworn duty to do so. All right, so the big one there, maybe the gravel lot may be postponed indefinitely or
No, it's not postponed indefinitely, it's just,
holding pattern at this point.
they tried to do everything in the first.
Seeing the planning board this much. Seeing us and then going to the planning.
Yes.
Did it, wait, did that end up in the paper?
It was at the town hall. Oh, I mean,
Oh,
up
okay,
at the post
I was
office.
gonna say, I pulled.
No, it wasn't
It was in the newspaper because it had both of our ads. It had the one section featured Mountain View and the Longville, and the other ad had the gravel lot in it. And it's in my bag. So both of them were on the same page.
But I
One
think
was there, one was there.
they're attempting to come in for
That's-
planning board. They can get started on that, but they can't do anything until they get their special exception.
No, we pulled both of them up.
I worried about like going up there for clarity for a site walk because I was unclear totally. Let me get the other one. That's the one that doesn't have it. The one that does have it.
Oh, if you're talking about something that I sent you. and I-
No, it was in the newspaper. Both of them, along with the planning board. And I went, oh, okay. There's the clipping. And
Yeah, I thought they pulled it until
I
October.
sent him
Didn't they?
fixed ones.
so this one was also. So both of them were in the paper. One was here on the side, and one was down below next to the planning board. So.
Get all my information from the post office.
You didn't pull
There
it
you
out.
go.
Because I want to try and come to the selectmen meeting tomorrow. And try to get a planning board on Thursday. I'm
I can
interested in
never
those
get there.
comments on Old Turnpike.
And this is the zoning, this is very
This is-
confusing.
Well, the planning board one, yeah, because I
Yeah.
wanted to go Thursday.
wondered
It's like back to school, so I cannot.
Check on the bill.
I don't know if I'll make either one.
They
but
must have said
I'm
that.
gonna try.
Am I signing anything in this book, or am I setting it aside?
I usually do too.
This book setting aside?
If you would sign, is there a plot plan?
No, there is no plot plan.
Oh, well, sign one of these. No, that's too old, forget
I
it.
got, yeah, the
Forget it, we're
91
good.
is all I have.
No, that's, these are too old. We don't want to sign over the top of them.
Yeah,
Oh, I think I'm pretty
all
sure.
right, is there a
was-
budget thing?
I thought it was.
Yeah, both of those
there was
were,
3 of them.
Oh, there.
both of those are on the same page in the second page. Both of them are in on 9.
Yeah, well, one was a correction. They apparently printed both.
Both, yeah.
It's my fault, I confused him.
I'm sure it's all right. We'll probably
It's better,
keep you.
it's better to overnotice than under.
Sure. And it helped me out because I was trying on that one. I only got 4 pages, so I didn't get any of the butter list or anything else. It was like the staple ripped out when it was being rolled, and so I'm missing. I only received 4 pages of it, so.
Of Ledgewood? Oh, sorry, I can give you, I have more. Let me give you that tonight.
Take
before
those.
we-
I'll take this.
I'll get the easy thing out of the way first. We need to decide November and December dates. Now, the date for November would be the 26th, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving, which should probably not be a problem for most people. It's not the week of
So
Thanksgiving.
November 26th, let me get my phone out.
All done shopping and done eating.
I have no life, I'm not going
We
anywhere.
might need to have some coffee that night.
Phone's out, here we go.
Oh, cool.
Might have to shovel snow.
Ugh.
Sorry, just kidding.
So the S
So
word?
Brenda, does your flip phone have a calendar on it?
No, it doesn't. I didn't bring my phone in. Just leave it outside. I'm afraid it'll.
November, so we got October 22nd
Mm-hmm.
is ZBA. And we hit save. And then November 26th, I'm an iffy at this point. I should be okay because I'll have to be back in school. I'll probably go to Connecticut. So I would say yes. I'll put you in.
That's the regular date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
December.
And then you have
December.
your choice of Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. But I think we'll back up to the 17th, might be the
Yeah.
better choice.
And how much notice do we need to give on? If just the notice in the
Well,
paper is sufficient, or?
Yeah, it's just that people start asking, so if we can just pin those dates down.
Sure.
The only one that's
Any cases
different is
anyway.
actually the December one.
I don't know, did we have, we were all backed up last year, so we were doing 2 a month there for a while.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that was awful.
Oh,
Do that
that's right
again.
before I came.
Well, we might have quite a few.
That's why
next
when you
month.
came in, we were all like elated, just in time, oh my God, we can keep going, because we really were, we
I
were,
think I came, I think when I first started, we had 2
Yeah.
the first month, and then went to once a
we
month.
just jump in. Are you all set on dates?
Yes.
And you have to have me sign something at some point. These issues, are these for us to pass out?
I don't
You know
know.
what?
That's
does it
Strobel,
say?
that's planning
I
board.
may
Oh,
have
Pam
accidentally
Sanderson.
given
There you go.
Bob yours,
Not Fowler.
but.
There you go.
Bob
So
never-
Bob's is a Matt, I do want mine.
I think I gave Bob somebody's, I don't think,
So these,
or somebody took it, I don't know. They come.
Yeah, you
Should we
can
leave
take
Matt's?
yours.
I don't think he'll care.
anybody want a magazine? Matt's, this is Matt's. You can always read it and bring it back to
Oh,
them.
that's good to read, but I, no.
I'm all set
Through
with my
mine
town and
from
country.
May, that isn't-
Town and
This
city.
is the new one. We should scoff this one. That's total.
It's probably loaded with the conference information.
Oh,
in
yeah.
November.
Actually, we need that one.
You do need that one.
Let's take a quiz to get any information online.
And that's Matt's, so. All right, so are you, any other,
Next item is proposed 2019 budget for the zoning board.
we have a budget?
You have a
We're getting
budget.
raises.
You get
getting
a dollar?
Yes,
to
you all are.
maintain the line open.
You're doubling your pay.
We have a dollar, it says, I'm not kidding, $1, period, to maintain line open.
Basically, what that means
Hey, wait a
is,
minute, would the selectmen are holding that dollar?
no, they're holding all the money. However,
Yeah.
what used to occur was in each department, they had legal money. And everybody would say, well, you know, we might need 3,000, but we better ask for 5.
Right, so
So everybody had all this
Sure.
money, so they reined it all back, and it's all in one legal line for the
Right.
town. However, if the zoning board expends money, it's shown as an overage. But it's just to keep the line open. We know there's money in the bigger one, but it will show when it's been expended. For example, from 1/1/2018 to 12/31/2018, if you go to the second page, you can see we've expended $3,123.75. which is 300,000% more than what the dollar is, so.
That's the biggest overage I've
And I
ever
think
seen.
that was the end of the year that went into the beginning of January on a legal case, but we haven't had any legal expenses since then.
3,123.75 for the recording period. Contracted printing. So these other line items, printing supplies, postage are typical and usual. And 149 is an odd number. Is that something specific for equipment?
Well, that, I don't know. Years ago, it was 149 well, it was 150. And then it got moved to 149 to make this bottom line number come out even.
With
And
the
it's been
dollar.
carried forward
With the
with the dollar.
So that's the
right.
missing $1
Right.
that keeps
So-
the line item open. Okay.
It's been kept that way, just so the bottom number's even. I would suggest to you that you recommend a,
Is there anything we have a deficiency in that you did not have enough money?
other than training, if more people want to go to conferences,
$200.
we only
how
have
much was
$200 in that line.
What was the price of conference? 50, 60?
I think it was 60 if you wanted
60
to
a
go.
person, and we sent 9? 8 people?
No, we didn't have that many people.
Yes, but we sent. There were a
Oh,
lot
you're
of
talking about
us
the
there.
planning and zoning one in the spring.
Yeah, there were a lot of us at that one.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but that was planning board, not zoning board. That, they have their own budget.
Yeah, so there were a lot of us that
So,
went there. Didn't you
it was
go?
110.
You went, I went.
I went, I think that was
What's
it.
his name?
Must have been
went?
55.
No, what's his name that resigned?
Yeah, Roger.
Roger went, and I thought Babette was there.
Was she?
Yeah, she was sitting in front of it. So that's 4.
Maybe.
4 of us were there. So maybe. But you like see 110, so you're still at $90 remaining. And when is our fiscal? When is it
It's Jan 1 to December 31.
January 1 to December?
However, this
31?
training is also, Susan and I wanted to go to something, so.
Mary Kay conventions don't count.
Oh, darn. Oh,
So, do you feel it's adequate?
yeah, we don't go, the food's lousy.
It's lousy.
Food's lousy. So essentially, this is the same standard usual budget that it has.
It has been, for this board.
And this is
If
where-
you want to recommend a level funded, I think you'll be fine.
All right.
If you want to add more,
149, but I see the reason. Any input from the board?
Looks great.
I don't do
Motion
math.
anybody want to make a motion to accept the budget?
Just
Motion.
make a motion.
Make a motion to accept 2019 budget.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think we've talked about it quite a bit.
Brandon, how did you vote?
In favor.
In favor?
Justin? I almost said
Just
it.
in favor.
I vote in favor too, so we pass the budget.
Yep.
Anything else? I don't think so.
Well, I did enjoy seeing.
I'll take them back. I'll
I
just
did
put 'em in.
enjoy seeing happy people. Well, you too?
Yeah.
Come on, I don't see enough happy people. Motion to adjourn?
No correspondence?
No
I
correspondence?
gave you the magazine.
Anything else?
No.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye!